How you doing? I'm Darren with Kickin Barbecue. If this is your first time to the channel, then welcome. If you've been here before, then welcome back. Today we're talking the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600 versus the Weber SmokeFire EX6 second generation. Now, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I've utilized both these cookers to turn out some fantastic food, but I have had a lot of questions from people asking me which one I like better. And that's the purpose of this video, is to educate and inform you on which cooker may be best for your needs. So we're gonna head out to the garage here in a minute. I do have some talking points you may see me utilizing, and that's just because I wanna provide you with as much information as I possibly can. However, if you have a question that I didn't cover, be sure to drop it in the comment section down below, and I will 100% get back to you. Now, at the time of filming, the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600 is $999. The Weber SmokeFire EX6 is $1,199, and they're both available at Lowe's Home Improvement if you want to go check them out for yourself. So let's head out to the garage and let's get an overview of these two cookers, and then I'm going to give you my final opinion and which one I would go with. Meet you out in the garage. All right, guys, so starting off with the Pro Series 1600. This thing is an absolute tank. It has 1,598 square inches of cooking space, aka 1,600 square inches of cooking space. It weighs 243 pounds, fully assembled just like this, with this nice griddle insert in there. And the door is made of 14 gauge steel. It is double walled, but it is non-insulated. However, we do have a very, very nice gasket here to prevent any air leaks or smoke leaks. Now you can see here we have a front folding shelf, which is great for setting adult beverages on. And we also have a side shelf, which is very heavy duty. You can put a lot of weight on there. We have 3 utensil hooks. We also have an adjustable chimney cap if you want to button it down or open it up a little bit. So those are some awesome features. You can also see right here, we have a nice little light, which is really handy for if it's dark outside and you want to see your food and see what's going on. Now coming around to the hopper side, this hopper is a 32-pound capacity hopper, and a lot of Pit Boss's pellets are sold in 40-pound bags, and this thing can dang near hold almost all of them. This thing is awesome for long, overnight, low and slow cooks. You don't have to worry about running out of pellets or anything like that. Love the size. I wish more pellet companies put bigger hoppers on there. Also, here in the hopper, you have storage for your probes, which is great. It comes with 2 probes, so that is absolutely awesome. But yeah, 32-pound hopper, you really can't beat that. Now you can see here we have 3 tiers of cooking space. I'm going to go ahead and get this griddle insert out, but that is an awesome feature if you're really into doing breakfast and stuff like that. And it does come with the cooker, which is absolutely fantastic. So these shelves do slide out, which I do really enjoy. It's nice to be able to pull them out if you need to. And one thing I will mention, ever since I got the updated controller, this light just stays on the whole entire time. Doesn't bother me, but it's just something worth noting. Now, as I pull out that middle grate, you can see here, we have the porcelain coated cast iron diamond grates here on the bottom. There's 4 of them. I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of these. They're a real pain in the butt to clean, and they kind of move around a lot. I really like this style of grates, and I wish that that's kind of what we had down here, is 1 or 2 solid units we could just pull out. The grates work great, however, I'm just not a huge fan of that style, but to each their own. Some people really like it, and that's great if they do. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about heat distribution. Now, obviously the center is where the fire pot is, and we'll get into that in a minute, but that's always hot. And then over here on the right side is where the air is flowing to go out our stack, and that seems to be a little bit warmer as well. The left side is on, a little bit hotter here and hotter here. And it works out nicely once you learn your cooker, which I highly recommend doing, finding out where your hot spots are, whether you're doing the biscuit test or the bread test. Once you find out where your hot spots are, you can adjust accordingly and rotate the proteins if you need to. For me, I've had 3 briskets on here and then 2 on top, and I just come out and I rotate them every half hour to an hour. Pork butts, I've had 2 and 2 for 6 total, and once again I just come out and rotate them about every hour, and that just helps with even cooking, and it's a good practice doing on any cooker regardless of where the hot spots are. Now coming around to the controller here, this is a PID Wi-Fi controller. It works wonderful. This is the updated model, so you'll see here when we go to turn it on and then we set our temps, we have our smoke mode, which runs about 160 to 180, and then we goes up to 190, 200, and then we have 10 degrees increments all the way up to 300. Once we hit 300, we're at 25 degree increments, all the way up to 450, and then high is about 500. And if you open up the sear plate, which we'll get to in a minute, you can really hit around 600 degrees in this cooker. We also have 4 probe ports here. It does come with 2 probes, as I showed you earlier, and I also really love that we have 10-degree increments now on here. Some people want 5. It doesn't really matter to me. Cooking at 220 or 230 doesn't make a huge difference to me. So I'm really happy with how this controller performs. All right, guys, now briefly, I did touch on the sear zone. Now, if we just pull this handle, which is right by the hopper, that's gonna open up this grate, and that is gonna be a direct flame sear right here. You don't have to remove the grates to open this. I just wanted to show you what that looked like. So this whole area right here is gonna be a direct flame sear. Now, it's not a huge area, I will give you that, but it works well for what it's intended to do. If you're gonna reverse sear a tomahawk steak and you get it up to temperature and you just need to sear it off in one little area, works absolutely awesome. You're just very limited to this one area. So not a huge deal, but it's something to keep in mind, especially if you're gonna be finding yourself wanting to do a lot of flame searing. You're gonna be limited to your area. So just something to keep in mind. To close it down, just close it like that. And then, like I said, if you put your controller up to high temperature and open this up, you're gonna be running right around 600 degrees. So, and actually probably directly over this, Pippas claims that it can get up to 1,000 degrees searing, which is getting up there and forms a really nice crust on things. But for the most part, this just lives closed on my cooker as I primarily use it as a smoker. All right, guys, as far as cleaning your fire pot out, you know, a lot of times you got to remove the guts of the cooker and vacuum it out, which I still recommend doing with this cooker. However, if you just want to quickly dump out your fire pot as it's getting a little full, you just go ahead and release this clip, slide that over, and this will drop down, and then you can just go ahead and dump out your fire pot, and then it just goes right back in, like so. You slide it over, go ahead, latch that back up, and you are good to go. All right, guys, now coming around to the right side of the cooker, if you're facing it, here's our little shelf right here. Now underneath, you can see we have our grease bucket, and that's just a pretty standard system. It goes down your heat deflector, funnels out and into the grease bucket. It works as it should. I do wish it was like a hidden grease bucket. Just helps with keeping the dogs out of it. And if you bump it, it kind of gets everywhere. If you forget that it's full and you go to start pulling your cooker out, it'll spill grease. But again, I'd say every time you clean this cooker, go ahead and empty your grease bucket out. It takes 2 seconds to do it, but it does work as it should. I just like the hidden grease features a lot better than some of the other cookers. All right, guys, so that was a basic overview of the Pippas Pro Series 1600. So let's jump in to the Weber SmokeFire and get a little overview of that. All right, guys, and this is the Weber SmokeFire EX6 second generation. If you know anything about the Weber pellet grill lineup, you know that their first generation was a complete and utter failure. People were having grease fires and all sorts of issues, pellet jams. The grease management system on here still needs some improvement. We're gonna get into that, but I just wanna go ahead and point out the finish on this. This is a beautiful cooker. I think it's one of the sleekest looking pellet cookers on the market. I love the porcelain coated enamel. Now this lid here is only 12 gauge steel. And like I said, it is porcelain coated enamel, but you open it up and we have 1,008 square inches of cooking space here. This grate is movable and it's also removable. So you got plenty of room in there. These walls on the sides here are double walled, non-insulated. So just like the Pippas Pro Series 1600, it's not insulated walls. But here in Minnesota, just having this little bit of double walled protection really makes a difference in colder temperatures. And I have had zero issues as far as temperature management in negative 30 degree weather or 100 degree weather. This thing has always performed well. And these grates, stainless steel grates, absolutely love them. They're a breeze to clean, and forgive me, they are a little dirty. They do need to be cleaned. And like I said, you can see here we have the grates. Like I said, 3 easy removable pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and get these out of the way. Now, if you are familiar with the Weber gas grills, you know that they have their patented flavorizer bars right here, which I absolutely love. I actually grew up learning how to smoke meat on a Weber gasser, and I used foil pouches full of wood chips to get my smoke. And I actually would have to prop the lid to maintain 250 degrees. That was when I was cooking low and slow a lot. Now, that being said, I hate these flavorizer bars in a pellet grill. I would love to see Weber put an option in there for a full grease drain heat deflector where you can remove these flavorizer bars and have that included with the package, because For searing, those flavorizer bars are absolutely awesome. They do a great job. You have this whole surface area that you're able to sear on and get a wonderful sear on burgers and steaks. It really makes grilling an awesome experience with these flavorizer bars. But for low and slow smoking or even hot and fast smoking, what I typically am doing is I'm taking a half pan, resting it on top of those flavorizer bars, putting my protein on top of that half pan on the grate, and allowing that half pan to catch the juices, because the grease management system in this thing is very poor. And I'm gonna pull you in right now and we're gonna review it and talk about it. All right, guys, so you can see here we have our hopper and we have our pellet chute. I actually really love the pellet chute. I know the Fast Eddies have a similar pellet delivery system, and it works very well as far as kind of keeping your temperatures even across the grates. There's no real hot spots. And this thing from left to right is a very even cooker. There's really no hot spots in this thing. I've checked it out. I've ran thermometers on here. I've done the biscuit test. It's a solid across the board cooker. But that being said, and I know it's probably going to be a little hard for you to see on camera here, on each side of this fire pot you have two little holes that are probably about 2.5 inches or so. That's your grease drain. And what happens is as this fire is burning, you're getting all the ash and stuff down here, which is great. It's not getting all over your food, but you're getting that grease dripping down there, mixing with the ash, and it's kind of forming this gunk that kind of clogs up these holes very easy. I'm not sure why Weber hasn't fixed this problem yet. There's so many different grease management alternatives. I'm not sure why it hasn't been addressed yet. But for me, that is one thing I do not like about this cooker. So that is probably my biggest gripe with this cooker. And like I said, Weber has been a leader in the grill game for however many years now. This is an awesome cooker, but that grease management system is designed very, very poorly. Now again, before moving on, I did just want to reiterate that although I'm not a huge fan of those flavorizer bars, they do a wonderful job of having even heat across the board. So if you're grilling on this thing, it's an awesome experience. If you're searing burgers, searing steaks, it does a wonderful job. You get the nice grill marks from these stainless steel grates getting nice and hot, but that grease system definitely needs some work. Now, speaking of that grease system, you're probably wondering where it drains to. Well, this is a feature that I absolutely love right here. This is where all your grease and your ash and everything is collected in this hidden compartment right here. I love the fact that it's hidden. My dogs can't get into it. If I jostle it around, it's not a big deal. And so in here you have a removable Weber aluminum tray, which goes ahead and catches the grease. And then you also have your ash catch right there. And when you're done, you just pull it out, empty it, and push it back in. It's completely hidden. Love that feature from Weber. I'm a big fan of the hidden grease traps. And one other thing I just wanted to point out, you can see we don't have a bottom shelf down here. There's not much for shelving or storage on this cooker, and we're gonna get into that right now. Now, in looking at the cooker, if we were facing it front, this would be the left side. You can see there's a nice handle here, but there is no side shelf. Now, you can buy one to add on to there, but for $1,200, I'm not really sure why you don't get a side shelf on this side. It's just kind of a ball dropped on Weber's part again, in my opinion. $1,200 should at least get me a side shelf. Now again, in looking in the front, you can see there is no front shelf here. Again, you can buy one as an added on feature. I think it's 80 or 100 bucks, I'm not sure. But again, for $1,200, give me a front shelf. Give me a folding front shelf that goes right here. I don't understand why they didn't put one on there. I guess I get the marketing aspect of it, getting you to buy some accessories, but I do think a front shelf should be included on this. All right, now facing the cooker, this is the right side. You can see we have a nice stainless steel shelf over here with 2 accessory hooks. I will say the shelf is super sturdy. You can put a lot of weight on there. I love it. I love that it's stainless steel. I think it looks great. It matches the handle and the trim and the accessories very well. It's very Weberish. That being said, it is fairly small. You know, you might be able to put a small tray or cutting board on there. You can put some beverages on there. You can put some sauce on there. But I don't understand why there's not more shelving, and I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this, but having this here is nice. It's very stable. You can put a ton of weight on there. Now, let's jump in and take a look at the controller, because I really love the controller on this cooker. All right, guys, and you can see we have the controller on here. I absolutely love this thing. We go from 200 degrees in 5s all the way up to 600 degrees. Absolutely awesome feature. And this thing will get up to 600 degrees in 15-20 minutes tops. The menu on this is fantastic. go ahead and set our temps like so. And if we were going to turn it on, we would just go ahead and push OK. Now jumping into some of the other options here, we can jump in, take a look at our menu. We have temperature, we have the smoke boost, which is awesome if you're cooking at I believe it's 225 and you turn this on. It acts kind of like a pellet tube and will give you some extra smoke, so that's a wonderful feature. We can do all sorts of stuff on here, get onto the app, all that. This thing is absolutely awesome, and to shut it down, we're just gonna go ahead and click shut down. It'll say it's shutting down, and it should go off here in just a second. Because, yep, and there we go. It's now safe to power off. And there's a little switch underneath the hopper. You just go ahead and turn that off, and there you go. It is done. This controller is awesome. I love the location of it. I love how great it is to use. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the hopper. And so you can see the controllers right here. Here is our hopper. It's a 20-pound hopper. It works okay. It does what it's supposed to do. This little slide right here is a little annoying. Sometimes the pellets have a tendency to get a little bound up in there. There's a pellet sensor in there to let you know when you're running low. However, since these do tend to get a little bound up in there, sometimes it prematurely alerts you that you're out of pellets. Not a big deal. You should probably be checking your pellets anyways, but just kind of an annoyance with the app and whatnot. But yeah, 20-pound hopper, nothing too special there. I do like the location of it. I love that it's on the back and all that. All right, guys, and so that was a basic overview of the Weber SmokeFire EX6 second generation. I know I was a little hard on it on some of the features, but those are truly some things that bother me. And the purpose of this video is to help you make an informed decision if you're gonna spend $1,000 or $1,200 on a cooker, what you're going to get and what may be important to you. So now let's bring the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600 into the picture, and I'm gonna give you my final thoughts and let you know if I had to buy one and do it all over again, which one would I buy? All right, guys, so now that I've given you a basic overview of these two cookers head to head, if I had to pick one to go and buy and only have one and do this all over again, which one would I buy? I would go with the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600. Here's the reason why. For me, I don't use pellet cookers as pellet grills. I use them as pellet smokers. Low and slow, hot and fast. I do very little grilling with my pellet cookers. So for me, this makes more sense. Also, being in Minnesota and sometimes getting down to negative 30 to 40 degrees, this thing handles cold weather very, very well. So for me, this would be my choice. I love having the 32-pound hopper. I don't really care about the Wi-Fi and the apps and stuff like that. This PID controller does a good job of maintaining temperatures in here. I like having the extra side shelves and stuff like that. That being said, if you're someone who grills a lot more and does the occasional low and slow smoke, you know, maybe the EX6 is a better option for you. Yeah, there's a lot of things to take into account here. You know, if I'm doing some reverse seared tomahawks and I can sear them off one at a time, that's it right there. If I want to put 30 burgers on a cooker and sear them off, that's it right there. And this thing will fit 30 burgers on there. So also, me being in Minnesota, I like that this is a little bit more heavy duty. It handles negative 30, 40 degrees well. Not saying that this one doesn't handle cold weather well. This one is just a little bit more beefy. So there's a lot of factors that you have to take into account for what might be best for you. The goal of this video is just to kind of show you the pros and cons of each and help you make an educated decision here as we're approaching spring, we're approaching grilling season and smoking season if you're not someone who does it year round. So just take that into consideration. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, stay safe, and we will see you next time.